Hey everyone, it's NHL Hockey News Reports. We're back on the video, and today we are talking about all the goalies, starter, backup, or splitting starts in the NHL, all 32. And my thoughts on them before the season have started. Some of these guys have been brought in, trades, free agency, maybe drafted. I'm looking at the list. I don't think any of them drafted and brought right in because that's pretty impossible at times. I'm going to say no. I don't see any of them on here. But you do have some young goalies here that could try to make the team, for sure. So, starting off with the Montreal Canadiens, you have Allen, Montembeault, and I didn't put Primo on the board, but Primo I would say too. Allen, he just signed a 2-year deal just recently. He has 1 year left on his deal that he has currently right now, and then he had just signed an extension, a 2-year extension, about $3.8 million. That's a good deal for Allen. It's fair. It definitely is fair. 2 years, good term, good money. I like that. Allen wants to be part of this rebuild. Wants to be there, which is good. And you know, you look around the league, and I think he wants to play. All right, you know, he won the Stanley Cup with the Blues in 2019. He got his cup. I think he's looking. I just want to play. If he wants to play, the Habs are going to play him. And, you know, he's going to be there for them. Because Price, obviously, who knows? He's probably going to retire, Price. 35 with his knee problem. Out for the season now. And didn't really play any last year. 5 games last year. And now he's still out for next year, too. So, Carey Price, it's a new generation of goaltending now, unfortunately, because I'm a Price fan. But, Allen, he's your guy there. And Montembeault played well last year. He was just left, there. The defense not helping him at all. So, hoping for a good year from him and Allen. And Primo hasn't looked good in the preseason, not the best. Some goals I'm looking at, I'm like, he should have saved that one, should have done that one too. But he is 23. It's a tough position to play, and it takes some time too. So we'll see how Primo does. He's going to be sent down to Laval Rocket, and Laval's going to play him, and he's going to do great in Laval because he has the last couple of years. It's just from the AHL to the NHL. Sometimes you do great in the AHL, and you just can't produce in the NHL. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to the Red Wings, we have a new duo here, Husso and Nedeljkovic. Nedeljkovic didn't have the best season compared to what he did in Carolina, but remember, Carolina has fantastic defense. And you look at the Red Wings last year, the defense isn't what Carolina is whatsoever. They have added this year the defense for the Red Wings. You do have Seidel, another year older of Seidel, which is great. You have so many other guys you bring, Sherratt and some other guys you bring in here, which is nice. But Nedeljkovic, I think, will have a good season, knowing he has Husso to play with. Husso had a really good year also. It's good to have. And they also have host Sebastian Cossa in the back of the mind, knowing the 19-year-old playing the Grand Rapids Griffins in the AHL of the real affiliate, knowing not this year, maybe next year, get him a couple of starts, but just slowly bring him in and make him a guy. But that's eventually they'd like to do. Moving on to the Ottawa Senators, we have Cam Talbot. They got from the Wild. They traded for the Wild for Gustafsson. That's an interesting move. Talbot had a fantastic year last year. He has had at points in his career great times and some not so great times. So I think all goalies have that in their times. But Talbot had a really good year with Minnesota. And he's hoping to have a really good year with the Senators. He's really happy to be there too, like he was in Minnesota. So we'll see how Talbot does. Forsberg also wants to have the net here. Forsberg played well last year too, deserving of a contract. Talbot has a year left on his deal. So both of those guys can be battling. See who gets more starts. We'll see what happens. And you also have Sogard, who's actually Mad Sogard, who's like 6'8". No joke. Mad Sogard, who's 6'8", who'll be playing on the Belford Senators in the AHL. For now, just to get him a little bit more. But he's a tall guy. He's big. But tall does not mean that you can be a good goalie, because you can get injured a lot. thinking about Ben Bishop. Alright, moving on to now the Bruins. You have Jeremy Swayman and Elias Olmark. Swayman is obviously your young goalie there. Olmark is your guy still too. Both of those guys can share the net. They're both really good. The problem is Boston has injuries. How far is the team gonna go? Don't know, but I know the Bruins with the goaltending, it is set. It's no problems there for sure. Moving on to now the Leafs here. The Leafs have totally changed the goaltending here. Moving on from Jack Campbell, Peter Mrazek, in the offseason. Campbell obviously signing with the Oilers, and Mrazek trading him to the Chicago Blackhawks. Looking at Matt Murray, he had a down year with the Senators, but there was a little points at times. He was good with the Ottawa Senators. 1-2 cups with the Penguins, as we know, dominant then. But he gets injured a lot. Can he keep himself going? And we know the Leafs have not been past the first round since 2004. This is the year to try to do it. And you look at Murray, winning 2 cups. Is that what they need to get over the hump here? To get to the second round and beyond. And Samsonov had a down year with the Capitals. They did not give him a qualifying offer, meaning he goes to free agency, and he selected the Leafs. So this could be an interesting duo. It could blow up in Kyle Dubas' face as the GM of the Leafs, or this could look really good. So we'll see what happens. And the preseason has looked good. Obviously, everything could look good because it's not all NHL players. You have some AHL players in there in the mix. So we'll see how the season goes for them. Be interesting. Now moving on to now the Panthers. You got Bobrovsky and Knight. You just signed Knight to a 3 or 4 year deal at $4 million. And you have an expensive duo here. Bobrovsky at $10 million. And Knight about $4 million. Not this year. The year after. $14 million. It's something to think about. Bobrovsky's $10 million contract is not going to be easy to move if you consider moving it. I think they like to, eventually, knowing Knight is the go-ahead guy, the young guy. But Bobrovsky, he had a good year last year. I do say he did. He's just inconsistent at times. Won 2 Vezinas already in his career as being the best goalie. That's tough to do. Absolutely. No other goalie on the board has done that. We'll see what happens. But Knight is definitely the guy they're trying to get. We'll see if they play Knight more than Bobrovsky at times, We'll see if Knight is ready to take even more games on. Obviously, like I said, they want to move ahead with Knight over Bobrovsky. Because $10 million for a contender like this, and they don't have much cap room, and if Bobrovsky doesn't play it too good, that $10 million looks not the best. It doesn't. They want to use that $10 million elsewhere. Moving on now to the Lightning, Vasilevskiy and Elliott. Vasilevskiy is one of the best goalies out there. Top 1-2 with Shesterkin, right? You got to think of. But, Vasilevskiy doesn't really need a good backup goalie. And, Elliott is that veteran guy who has done a lot in the NHL already. So he can just play him, maybe back-to-back, have Vasilevskiy and then Elliott. And then, Vasilevskiy's fine for the other games, But, Vasilevskiy played like 70, 75. Or, more like 70. I should say 65 to 70. Doesn't get injured very much at all, so that's good to see. Moving on to the Buffalo Sabres. Eric Carmen, they signed this year, trying to see can they make him kind of like that number 1-ish. With Craig Anderson, who's 40 years old, and he wants to play again. I thought he played well last year. We'll see how he does. He does get injured last year like he did, so Pekka Luukkonen could get that chance to come in and play, see how he does. I am definite he will play some part of the season. Luukkonen for sure. He is a young goalie. We'll see how he does with Buffalo. Buffalo's an interesting team to look at for this year. Moving on now to the Philadelphia Flyers. And the Flyers, you have Hart and Sandstrom. Hart is your number 1 guy. Struggled last year and the year before. Hopefully he has a good year. Sandstrom, that's the best guy they have looking at here. Playing the AHL last year for many games. Looked not bad. He's going to get a chance. Moving on to the Islanders, Varlamov and Sorokin. Varlamov is getting older. I don't know. I think it's like a year left or something. Sorokin is your guy moving forward. But the team struggled last year. Hopefully they have a bounce back year. Looking at the Devils, very interesting goaltending situation here. The goaltending was nothing last year. Injured, here or there. Now they have 3 guys battling here. Blackwood, who will most likely be the number 1. Bernier, who had hip surgery. We'll see if he's supposed to be healthy, actually. Let's see what happens. And Vitek Vanacek, they got from the Capitals. So the goaltending is set. Hopefully. It's fine. Because they don't have that problem like last year. They want to try to make the playoffs this year. Moving on to the Rangers. Shesterkin is your guy. That is your guy you're going to be using, obviously. And Halak is an experienced backup. Played many teams, headed up and downs, but recently he's around 36 now, So not bad of a backup for sure. Moving on to the Capitals, they totally changed the goaltending here. They have Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek. They go bring in Stanley Cup winner here and Darcy Kemper. They also bring in from the Blues, who played in the AHL, but actually looked good when he got brought up to the NHL for the Blues, Troy Lindgren. Now, Troy Lindgren obviously was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. I remember a couple of starts he could be brought up, and he would look good. Really good. And then you have him play more than that, and he fall apart. But now, he played more with the Blues, and he looked good. And I think Lindgren, he has grown more. That was like 3-4 years ago. So hopefully he's going to be good as the backup goalie there. It looks good. With a different change here for them, as they were sick of the goaltending they had. Moving on to now the Penguins, Joey DeSmith. Joey is the guy. DeSmith is a solid backup. Good to see there. Joey, if he can be better in the playoffs, that will be good. He didn't even have a chance last year in the playoffs. He was injured. So, DeSmith played good until he got injured. Until they had Louis Domingue, who actually didn't play too bad for the Penguins then, right? But, we'll see how Joey does in the playoffs. It'll be interesting. If they can make the playoffs, we'll see if they do, which I think they will. Moving on to the Blue Jackets, you have Moslikins, Korpisalo, and Torosov. Moslikins is your number 1. Korpisalo, he has had hip surgery, so Torosov. But Torosov had it before Korpisalo, so Torosov is already playing. He's already in the preseason. Korpisalo has not played yet. And, his career's in jeopardy at times. They signed him. Extension. They give him a chance. But, no other team will go for him but the Blue Jackets, who know him. Moving on now to the not Lightning. We already did the Lightning. The Hurricanes. Freddie Anderson had a really good year last year. Antti Raanta looks solid. Raanta is a solid backup goalie. Not a number 1. He gets injured easily. He is very injury prone. But he's a good, solid backup goalie. For sure. Moving on to the Wild, you have Marc-Andre Fleury. That is your guy. Gustafsson is young. He's going to make his struggles like he did last year, but we'll see how he does this year. With the Wild, obviously, trading Talbot and then getting Gustafsson. Because of the cap issues with Parisi and Sudo, the buyout penalty they have had to pay, about $10 million of dead cap. Or was it like $12 million? And then next year's going to be 14, even worse for the next 2 years after that. So, not very good. But they have to work around it, be creative, and that's what they have done. Fleury and Gustafsson, they have as their goalies. On the Blackhawks, really, it doesn't matter at this point for them. They are obviously tanking, trying to go for Bedard, Mitchkov, Fantini, Yago there, whatever his name is. Whoever else in the top 5, obviously they're going to tank. Mrazek, Stalock, Soderblom, and put the 3 out there. We'll see who gets what here. I don't know. The team is supposed to be bad, and they want to be bad, but the coach doesn't. Obviously, you're speaking to the media, you have to say, yeah, I'm good anyways. But, yeah, that's how it is. Moving on now to the Predators. Soros and Lankinen. Lankinen was the Blackhawks goalie. He had not the best season last year, but the year before he looked really good in his rookie season. So Saros and Lankinen is good. You also have Askarov coming up eventually, which is interesting. But Saros is your number one guy. Lankinen is your guy, backup guy. Moving on now to the Jets, you have Hellebuyck. You have Hellebuyck and Riddick. And you know, Hellebuyck is your number one guy. That is your guy. Just give him a guy that can give him nights off. And Riddick, he's a big goalie. Played with Nashville the other year, the Flames before. Needs some help, you know. But we'll see how he does with the Jets, you know. We have Rick Bowness, defensive ideas, as a new coach for the Jets, or coming back to the Jets eventually. And then you're talking about the Avalanche. Georgiev and Francouz. Georgiev in the preseason with the Avalanche, he was lit up with about like 7 goals. So I was like, I hope that's his, he's just warming up here for him. It's just preseason, it is, but you just hope it's not going to be all year. You just hope, right? And Francouz, who's a solid backup goalie. There you go. Going on to the Dallas Stars, you have Jake Ottinger, who signed a 4-year, $4 million contract. Ottinger looked incredible in the playoffs. The best goalie in the first round. Got knocked down in Game 7 against the Flames in overtime, but absolutely amazing was Ottinger. In the season, he was okay, but we know he has the talent. So we'll see what kind of Ottinger we do get. $4 million is a gamble. It is a little here, but hey, if Ottinger can play like he did in the playoffs, that is absolutely fantastic. But they need to sign Jason Robertson. That's a whole nother subject for Jason Robertson. They need him as a goal scorer to compensate for the goaltending here in Jake Ottinger, if they want to make any chance on the playoffs. The Coyotes, I like the Blackhawks, still tanking, but I like the idea here for the Coyotes to rebuild. Vejmelka is your guy. He played, I didn't even know who he was last year until he started. I'm like, hey, I like Vejmelka. He actually catches right. Usually they catch left, which is interesting for him, but I like Vejmelka. There's no backup goalie at the moment. They picked up Jonas Johansson on waivers a couple of days ago from the Avalanche in post Veskov. There's also a guy who played last year, didn't look the best, but we'll see who plays. They could pick someone up waivers as time goes on the next couple of days again, but they do have Jonas Johansson here. So Jonas Johansson is nothing to brag about here. He's kind of like below average, I would say. So there you go. Moving on to the Canucks, you have Thatcher Demko, Spencer Martin, and Arthur Silovs. Demko is your number one guy. They haven't played Martin much. They haven't really played him in the preseason, which is kind of like, okay, why are you not playing him? How's the backup goaltending here? I kind of like Silovs, what he has done. Is he ready? I don't know. I don't know about Martin. We'll see how that goes. Moving on for the Sharks, you have Reimer and Kakkonen. That's your goalie duo there. You did have Hill, but you traded him to Vegas. Kakkonen is a young goalie still. Struggled a little last year with Minnesota, and then they traded him for Middleton, the defenseman, who's now on the Wild still. But Reimer played really well last year, and Kakkonen is interesting, but I do think the Sharks will still be in the bottom of the league. Moving on now to the Oilers, you have Campbell and Skinner. Mike Smith failed his doctor exam, so he's going to LTIR. Yep, there he goes. That's it for him, retiring, basically. Skinner's going to get the opportunity. Campbell is your number one guy. Obviously, we'll see how he does with the Oilers. Moving on to the Calgary Flames, you have Markstrom, Vladar, and Wolf. Markstrom is, a shutout machine, but a bit inconsistent at times too. But he's a great goalie, Markstrom. But he has a shutout, and then it's like, what happened? If he can be a little bit more consistent next year, this coming year, instead of shutout and then lose the game if he didn't have a shutout. He had how many? He had 7 in the first half, which is crazy, but be a little bit more consistent. If you have to let a goal in or two, but still in the game, that's fine. But be more consistent. Vladar had a good year too. He also got a lot of shutouts also. And Wolf is one to think about. Maybe this year he starts to take over Vladar's job. But Wolf looked really good in the AHL last year. He's about 20 years old, 2021. But he's really good. Look out for Dustin Wolf for sure. Moving on to the Ducks, we have is John Gibson, Stolarz, and Dostal. Gibson the last couple of years has had down years. This is his year to show. I am still a really good goalie. Dostal Stolarz hasn't been the best, and yet Dostal has actually looked not bad. The thing is, one is waiver exempt and one is not. You look at Stolarz, will be, if you send him down to the minors, he will be placed on waivers, someone could pick him up. Dostal, you can just send right down to the minors because he's young. Stolarz isn't, so there you go. So that's what I mean. You probably start with Stolarz and then see how it goes, and if it's Dostal, it's okay. There you go. Moving on to the Kings, you have Quick and Peterson. Quick has kind of kept the job here. Peterson has tried to, but Quick has kind of just been in there and kind of keeping the job. Peterson is another guy who catches right, which is interesting. I'm not a big Peterson fan. I'm like, Peterson's okay. I thought they overpaid him about $5 million, 5.5 or something. I'm like, I didn't think Peterson's worth that. I still don't think that, but that's what they thought. Whatever. Moving on to the Vegas Golden Knights, you have Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, and Léa Broussard. And Thompson is, probably your guy who you're going to start off with. Thompson has looked good in the end of the year. Has made the playoffs for the first time in the franchise. And then you have Hill, who struggled last year, but is a good goalie. And then you have Broussard, who's another guy. And then you have Leno, who had hip surgery, who's out for the whole year. So that was the number one, who was Leno. He's gone. And Broussard's coming back. You have Hill, Thompson. So I would start off with Thompson. He looks pretty good in the preseason. He has looked good, too, at the same time. Moving on to the Blues, you have Binnington, Greiss, and Hofer. Binnington, hey, if he can stay consistent, he's good. Husso had to take over at points of the season last year. Husso's not with the Blues. Husso is with the Red Wings now. So, there you go. And Greiss is the older goalie. I don't know what we're going to get from Greiss. Are we going to get the New York Islanders Greiss under Mitch Cohen, goalie coach there for him? Or are we going to get the Red Wings Greiss? What kind of Greiss are we getting? I don't know. He's like 36, 37. He's getting up there now. And Hofer is a young goalie. Kind of like a really Husso type of idea there. And then moving on to the Seattle Kraken, we have Grubauer, Jones, and Drigo. They have 3 goalies, and I've been thinking, are they going to trade Drigo? Like, they have Jones, been playing Jones. I haven't seen them play Chris Drigo yet. I might be mistaken, but I have not seen them play him. Grubauer I have seen. Grubauer had an awful season last year. You can only get better from what happened to last year. This team looks a lot better. The Kraken, they have the defense. They add offense. They add Andrei Burakovsky. They add Oliver Bjorkstrand to the offense. That is good. They have the defense. So we're hoping that Grubauer bounces back, and we'll see how Martin Jones does with the Kraken too, as he was born around that area too. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts about these goalies going into the season. We'll see how they do. Which ones fail, and which ones succeed, and which ones we think fail do become a pleasant surprise. So thanks for watching. NHL News Sports. I'll see you next video. Bye.